Hi everyone! Today I'm sharing how I created this interactive album to document my Day in the Life 2021, Day 1. I decided to make this album an interactive one just because I wanted to compare my first day in the life, which is in the spring of this year, to the second day in the life that we'll be doing in the fall of 2021. So I didn't want to do like a standard pocket page type album, so that's why I built my own. If you'd like to find out more, then just keep watching. So I've pre-cut and pre-scored all of my cardstock just to save a bit of time here. The first one that we're going to have is 6.5 inches by 9.5 inches, and we're going to be scoring it at 4.5 inches and 9 inches. And then we're going to apply some score tape just on that bottom flap there. Just fold that over. And so this is going to create kind of like a little pocket here when we glue this down. So whenever I make my base pages, I like to, this is a good way to make sure that it holds a lot of weight. So you can see that when I put this flap in, it's going to be adhered on both this side as well as this side, as opposed to if you have a flap here and it's just adhered to the one side, then it's a bit of a weaker joint. So for my base pages, sometimes I like to do that. You can see occasionally if I don't glue things straight, you have a bit of an overhang, so you can always trim that off. Next, we have two pieces here, and these are cut at 4.5 inches by 7.25 inches. And we're going to score on this long side here at 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch. So 1/2 inch in and then 1/4 inch away from that. So that's going to create, if you fold on those score lines, a flap to attach it to the base page, and there's going to be a gusset there as well. And I've put score tape on both sides. It's just going to fold the other one as well. And next I'm just going to taper my corners here just so that it fits in a bit easier into this pocket right here. So you want to cut starting from the first score line here and then cut all the way to the end, just like so. So make sure you're not cutting beyond that first score line there. Next, we're just going to take the piece with the score tape on it and slide that in to this pocket here. And so you can see once it's adhered, then both sides will be sealed in. So I'm going to start by removing the tape backing from one side. Slide it into the pocket and make sure that this edge here is lined up with this first score line that we made right there. Should fit just fine. Make sure it's straight before you tape it down. The thing about score tape is once you press it down, there is really no removing it, unless you use undo, which is a kind of like a solvent solution. Here I'm just removing the tape backing from the other side, pressing it down. And we have one flap done. Going on to the other side, we'll remove the tape backing first. Slide it in and make sure it's lined up. Like so. And then remove the tape backing from the other side. Press that down. And there we have our tri-fold base of the album that opens up once and again. So next off, we're going to add our flaps. I have 6 of them here in total, and they measure 4 3/4 of an inch by 6 1/4 of an inch, I believe. Yes. And we're scoring on this one side at 1/2 inch here to create a flap. And again, making sure that we have score tape just on the one side. Next, we're going to fold along the score line. We're going to open up our book, and we're going to be putting our score tape down here, here, and here. So you want to make sure that it's going to be centered in the middle of this panel here between the score line and the edge of the page. It's not going to reach all the way across, and I did that on purpose so that when you're folding your flap down and trying to close your book, the edge of the page doesn't interfere with the fold here. So it is going to be slightly smaller than the base page that you're attaching it to. Just make sure that it's centered in the middle of this panel. You're going to do the same thing on the other side. So the way I like to make sure that these are lined up is I just tuck this between the flaps here, just to make sure that I have everything centered before I glue things down. And you want to make sure that the edge of this flap is lined up with the edge of the page here as well. And if it's overhanging by just a tiny bit, like if it's off by a tiny bit, that's fine. This is handmade, right? So you don't need it to be perfect. I just like to keep one hand stationary here to hold the page in place, and then tuck the flap back here so that I know when I press it down, it's in the right place. And these tweezers come in really handy for removing the tape backing as well. And I prefer score tape for constructing my album bases just because I find that score tape is the strongest adhesive that I've tried. And with these interactive pages, like we'll be adding photos here and things like that. Sometimes I like to add pockets. And so with that bulk and the flipping and flapping, you just want to make sure that everything is secure. There's another page done. And these flaps, like, it looks like they're kind of opening all over the place now. But once you have your photos in with the weight of that, and after it's been sitting for a while, it just stays shut by itself usually. So I don't usually worry about that. If you like, you can add magnets as well before you add any pattern paper or any of your photos and pocket cards. Sometimes that helps as well. I might add 1 or 2 magnets here and there just to make sure that everything shuts properly. Make sure my last flap is lined up. There we go. So we're going to have our trifold. I'm going to have 3 of the times here. So like 6 a.m., 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think I have it at, no, I think I just have 11, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, there's going to be 3 there, 3 more here, and then 3 more on the bottom here, for a total of 12 pictures and journaling card combinations. And then in these sections here, I'm either going to have these pocket cards, or I might create some pockets to hold additional memorabilia, things like that. Or alternately, I might just have some pattern paper and maybe like a nice journaling card with like a title, things like that. So I'm going to fold all of these in. One of the optional flaps that I cut out were these ones here, measure 3 3/4 of an inch by 4 1/4. And then if you score it at the 1/2 inch mark, then you can add one of these to, let's say like at 6 a.m. if I have an additional photo, I could potentially add a photo here, journaling here, for example, add a tab here, and then so when this flips out, you can have another picture, let's say this one right there. So I have a couple of hours during the day where I have more than one picture for that hour, so we'll see how I feel about attaching those in. Haven't quite decided yet. So next I've created, so this is like the front of the photo album, and then when this opens, like this is the first page with the flaps. This page here, I'm going to put a pocket on. So I've cut this piece here. This is 7 1/2. Yes, 7 1/2 by 4 1/4. And I've scored at 3 of the 4 sides at 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch in here, here, and here. And I've applied score tape within the score mark and the edge of the piece of paper on those 3 sides as well. I'm just going to put my scissors there so that it weighs it down and it's not flopping around when I'm trying to work. Next, I'm just going to taper the corners. So that's just cutting diagonally across where those score lines intersect, so that when you're folding your paper back, you don't get that extra bulk on the corners of your pockets. So you'll notice if I try to fold this down, like you see how there's like extra bulk here if I'm trying to make that pocket. So that's why this corner needs to come off as well. I'll do a test fold. That looks great to me. So this is going to go right there to create a pocket, but I do want to make it a bit more fancy. So I want a slanted pocket, and I'm going to cut from the corner here to, like, let's say there, measure 1 1/2 inches away from the top if you want yours to be exactly like mine. So let's just mark that. So this is while my flaps are folded down. I just need to mark a tiny bit more in so that I can see the tick mark. There we go. So I'm just going to line up this tick mark with the corner of this page here. It really doesn't have to be exact. But there we go. And because you're cutting through more than one layer of paper, in some cases, just make sure you hold it down tight before you make your cut. And I do like to have the taller edge of the pocket on the outer side so that, you know, if you're flipping the page that way, your stuff's not going to go flying out that way. So I'm just going to flip this around. Find it easier to work on a relatively flat surface. Too many things. And we're just going to attach the pocket here, making sure that the pocket's not going to overhang this side here, because that's your hinge there to fold. So I'm actually going to adhere that side first. If it overhangs a bit by that side, I don't really care as much. So I'll just line up the bottom edge and that side. I usually do like to remove one side at a time. Just because if you try to remove all three sides at a time, sometimes it gets stuck to other things unintentionally. So there's that one. Like so. So that when I fold everything down, the first thing you'll see when you open it is going to be this pocket. And I'm probably going to put, these are some screenshots of the local newspaper from the day that I did my day in the life, as well as this screenshot of what the weather looked like. This was actually taken the day afterwards so that it shows like what all the highs and the lows are for the 24 hours that I did my day in life, as well as this other screenshot for some more news. And that's probably just going to go right in there when the album's done. So I think it might be nice to have a magnet right there. So I get all my magnets from Treasured Memories, and they have kind of like larger ones and smaller ones. I like these larger ones a bit better. These measure about, what is that? 3/8 of an inch, and the smaller ones measure about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a tiny bit more than that. But they also have like thick ones and thin ones too. So like if you can see here, I'll zoom in. There we go. So they have the thick ones as well as the thin ones, and I definitely prefer the thin ones over the thick ones, but I prefer these larger ones to the small ones. That being said, this page doesn't have, let's just focus again, come on. This page won't have a whole lot of weight to it or a lot of bulk, so I think I might be able to get away with using the small ones this time. I'll just pick a magnet. I might need 2 for that to work. Yeah. So the way I do my magnets is you just want to stick this down, and this is going to be covered by pattern paper, so I'm not going to worry about that. Another magnet here. And then we want the magnet to be facing the opposite way. So these magnets aren't marked as to which side is positive and which side is negative. So I just like to drop them on here and they just stick wherever they want to stick. And so I'll just take a piece of score tape and kind of sandwich the score tape in between, like so. And you can see they just kind of snap back into place. And so when I press this down, it should pick up the score tape and stick the magnets where they should be. Now this is kind of slightly a bit too close to the edge for my liking, so I'll just peel some of it off there. There we go. Now I think to prevent this whole thing from happening, I might want a magnet back here as well. So that would go up there. Yeah, I'm okay with that. There we go. So here's a final look at my album without the photos or any journaling cards or anything like that. I am going to make a second one just for my fall day in the life for this year. And this day in the life will go on the top and the other day in the life will go on the bottom. I'll show you guys how to put this into like a completed album after I'm done with the second day in the life. So if you'd like to see how I put this together, then make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification button for notifications when that goes up, probably sometime later on this week. Thanks for watching.